Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah, ma ba'd. Inshallah, we'll continue with the Aqeedah Al Wasitiyyah of Shaykh Al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, with the explanation of Shaykh Abdul Aziz rahimahullah. And we've reached a section about the Iman regarding the messengers. So here the author, Shaykh Al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he mentioned, he said, ثُمَّ رُسُلُهُ صَادِقُونَ مُصَدَّقُونَ. Sadiqun, the truthful, the messengers that are truthful. Musaddiqun, or Musaddaqun, sorry, they are entrusted by the people, entrusted by Allah first and foremost. بِخِلَافِ الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ عَلَيْهِ مَا لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. In opposition to what the people say about him, meaning the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and likewise the rest of the prophets. Here it says alayhi. In my nuskha it says ثم رسله صادقون مصدقون بخلاف الذين يقولون عليه ما لا يعلمون. يعني they say that which they do not know about the prophets and messengers. And here he said ولهذا قال, that's why Allah said سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, exalted be your Lord, the Lord of honor, above what they ascribe him with. Peace be upon the messengers, and all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all that exists. Then he said فَسَبَّحَ نَفْسَهُ. So here in this verse Allah praised himself and he exonerated himself. عَمَّا وَصَفَهُ بِهِ الْمُخَالِفُونَ, above what the opposers describe him with. Yeah. للرسل وسلم على المرسلين لسلامة ما قالوه من النقص والعيب. And likewise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the messengers and described them with high esteem, with pure speech. وَسَلَامٌ عَلَى الْمُرْسَلِينَ, free from deficiencies and faults. Not like what the Christians do when they come to speak about the prophets and messengers, they speak ill of them. And this, you'll find it in the Bible. If you were to do a quick search on the Bible and what they say about the prophets and messengers, they accuse them of evil things. They accuse them of incest or lying and many things, killing innocent people. They mentioned that about Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and many evil things that they quoted about the prophets and messengers. But here we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying security is for the messengers because of their pure speech, free from deficiencies and faults. So he, the exalted, has named and described himself with combinations of negations of false notions and affirmation of perfection. That is what is mentioned in that particular verse. وَالسَّلَامٌ عَلَى الْمُرْسَلِينَ وَالْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. فَسَبَّحَ نَفْسَهُ عَمَّا وَصَفَهُ بِهِ الْمُخَالِفُونَ لِلرُّسُلِ. Those who oppose the messengers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised himself above their statements against Allah and how they described him in bad way, yani in negative light. وَسَلَّمَ عَلَى الْمُرْسَلِينَ. And he also mentioned the mursaleen, the messengers, as being free from any evil that they used to associate with them and what they said about them, من النقص والعيب, from deficiency and belittlement. وهو سبحانه قد جمع فيما وصف وسمى به نفسه بين النفي والإثبات. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse, he negated anything that is deficient regarding him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he affirmed all perfection for himself. فَلَا عُدُولَ لِأَهْلِ السُنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ عَمَّا جَاءَ بِهِ الْمُرْسَلُونَ. So there's no way for Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah that they would turn away from what the messengers came with. They are in line what the messengers came with. From Nuh alayhi salatu salam, from the first of the messengers, Nuh alayhi salatu salam, until Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, they did not deviate from that main message. اُعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَهٍ غَيْرُهُ. Worship Allah, you have nothing to do with the other deities besides Him. Worship Allah alone. All of them call to that. وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. This is the call of all the messengers. So it's Nahl. We have sent to every nation a messenger calling people to worship Allah, keep away from the false deities. The Shaykh Islam rahimahullah continued and he said, فَإِنَّهُ الصِّرَاطُ الْمُسْتَقِيمُ. That is the Sirat al-Mustaqim. What the prophets came with. Tawheed. That is the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Sirat al-Ladina an'am Allahu alayhim. The path of those whom Allah has blessed. Min al-Nabiyyin, from the prophets. Was-Siddiqeen, and the truthful ones. Was-Shuhada, and the martyrs. Was-Salihin, and the righteous. وقد دخل في هذه الجملة ما وصف الله به نفسه في سورة الإخلاص. And likewise, Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Ikhlas the perfection of His names and attributes, التي تعدل ثلث, which in itself necessitates a third of the Quran. A third of the Quran, because a third of the Quran is Tawheed, meaning all of it calls to, meaning the third of the Quran calls you to that, worship of Allah alone. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say, is Allah the one? And that translation is very weak translation. Say He is Allah, the only, the unique, the only one. Because Al-Ahad is not like Al-Wahid. Al-Wahid means one. Ithnan, two. But this is Al-Ahad. But there was an Af'al, Afdal, the best. There is no one similar to Him. You can't add to Ahad. You can't add to it. You can add to Wahid. You can't add to Ahad. That's why when these Orientalists, they try to criticize Surah Al-Ikhlas and they said, look, there's a mistake, it should be قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ الْوَاحِدُ. This Shafi'i Imam from the 8th, 9th century, and I have the book in my house, he wrote a refutation on them and he said, no. Number one, Ahad is uncountable, not like Wahid. That's rejected what you said. Number two, Ahad is in the wazn of Afdal. Afdal means better. Af'al, Afdal is the best. There's no comparison unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he refuted them with these two arguments. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ Allahu Samad. As-Samad is the one whom everything is in need of his existence, and he's not in need of anyone else for his existence. He's not in need of anyone because he's a Samad, but you and me are in need of Allah. Allahu Samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He does not beget nor is he begotten. Wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. And there is none comparable unto him. Then Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah continues, said, وَمَا وَصَفَ بِهِ نَفْسَهُ فِي أَعْظَمِ آيَةٍ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ حَيْثُ يَقُولُ. And what Allah described Himself in the best verse in the book of Allah, such that Allah said, and the greatest verse is Ayat al-Kursi, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. This verse is a great verse. It's the greatest verse in the Quran, and we need it. If you recite it after every prayer, there's nothing between you and paradise except death, meaning you inshallah will enter paradise. Ayat al-Kursi, before you sleep, read it. This is a great verse against shaitan. In fact, shaitan, Abu Hurairah radhiallahu anhu, when he caught him stealing from Bayt al-Mal, what did Abu Hurairah say? To let him go, shaitan said to Abu Hurairah radhiallahu anhu, he said to him, I'll teach you something, and then to protect yourself from the devil. And he taught him Ayat al-Kursi. And what did the Prophet say when Abu Hurairah radhiallahu anhu mentioned it to him? He said, Sadaqaka wa huwa kadhub. He spoke the truth then, but he's a liar. He's known to lie, persistent liar. But in this case, he was truthful. Sadaqaka wa huwa kadhub. So Allahu la ilaha. It begins with Allah, Lafdul Jalala, which Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma said it means Dhul Uluhiyya, the one who deserves to be worshipped alone. And one of the scholars in Medina, when he was teaching just this name, he was teaching the names of Allah in Qawaid al-Muthla, he started with the name Allah. That's the first name. All other names follow on after Allah. And he said, if you know the meaning of Allah, then you will know your relationship to Allah. Because if He's the one that deserves to be worshipped alone, then you and me are ibadullah. You are Abdullah, I'm Abdullah. That's the reality. Whether we like it or not, we are all ibadullah. And Allah said that in the Quran, Surah Maryam, وَكُلٌّ آتِ الرَّحْمَنِ عَبْدًا. Everyone will come to the Lord as a slave. And what beautiful it is to be a slave of Allah. And not a slave of the dinar and dirham. And not a slave of the dunya. And not a slave to man. Yes, it's a blessing not to be a slave to man, but to be a slave to Allah. And in this dunya, whether we like it or not, people are around trying to enslave others by control, by trying to make them feel inferior. This is happening and it's continuing to happen, even though the slave trade of enslavement of people in Africa and other than Africa, even though outwardly it came and went, but reality is still there. Look what's happening in America. The enslavement of the mind, where people are being treated inferior to others. And Islam has nothing to do with this. Islam came to take the people away from the enslavement of others. Yani, to call the people away from harming others and oppressing others. And rather, Islam came to the enslavement of ourselves to Allah, the Creator. That's why Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah wrote an excellent book called Al-Ubudiyyah, which is servitude, where our service is to only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to creation. Now, and there are so many laws in Islamic legislation, the encouragement of freeing of slaves. This came in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah begins here with saying, with His own name, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. And it's followed by kalimat al-tawheed, which is the heaviest on the scales on Yawm al-Qiyamah. La ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, the perfect living. You live, we live. But Allah is the perfect living. You live and you die. We live and we die. We live, we get sick. We live, we get tired. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Al-Hayy, the perfect living. Al-Qayyum, the self-subsisting. Not in need of anyone, but rather everyone in need of Him. Al-Qayyum, la ta'khuduhu sinatun wa la nawm. No slumber seizes Him, nor any sleep. Lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fi al-ard. To Him belongs whatever's in the heavens and the earth. Man dhal ladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi'idhnih. Man dhal ladhi yashfa'u. Who can intercede with Him or in His presence except by His permission. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ. He knows what is in front of them and what is behind and what is behind them. He knows the future and He knows the past. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ. They cannot encompass anything of His knowledge except that which He wills. وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. His kursi extends over the heavens and the earth. وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. And He does not fatigue or tire from preserving them or guarding them. وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. And He is the Most High, the Great, the Exalted. Shaykh Ibn Baz rahimahullah said here, first and foremost, messengers. They are sadiqun, truthful, and they are entrusted. This reminds me of Ibn Mas'ud's statement, radiallahu anhu, when he spoke about, when he mentioned the Prophet ﷺ, said to him, he says, حَدَّثَنَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَهُوَ صَادِقُ الْمَصْدُوقِ. Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, صَادِقٌ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ مَصْدُوقٌ عِنْدَ النَّاسِ. It's truthful with Allah, entrusted by the people. Same words are used, صَادِقُ وَمَصْدُوقٌ. صَادِقُونَ وَمَصْدُوقٌ. أو مصدقون. يعني أخبر عن نفسه كما تقدم فيما ذكره المؤلف من الإيمان بالله. So here Allah mentioned about Himself in those verses that came. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون, regarding those who associate, those who liken Him to His creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about Himself in the best, يعني that there's no one similar to Him. And previously mentioned about the angels, his books, his messengers, and the last day. And he is more aware of himself than anyone else. And he's more aware of his creation than anyone else. And he's not to be compared to his creation, he says. وَأَنَّهُ لَا يُقَاسُ بِخَلْقِهِ. Then he said, ثُمَّ رُسُلُهُ أَيْضًا. Then his messengers likewise, truthful and entrusted in that which they came with. Is that which they called to? The Prophet ﷺ said, Allah commanded him to say, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ. He does not speak of his own accord. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. His revelation, indeed it is revelation that is revealed. So when he speaks, it's revelation. And the Sahabi, one Jew said to him, do you write from him even when he's angry? Prophet ﷺ heard that. He said, nothing emanates from this except haqq, except truth. فَالَّذِي أَخْبَرَ بِهِ الْقُرْآنُ أَخْبَرَتْ بِهِ الرُّسُلُ. So that which the Qur'an mentioned, the messengers mentioned. They didn't deviate away from what Allah commanded them to say. In terms of the prayers, in terms of the legislation that was revealed to them. And the best of them, أفضلهم وإمامهم, and their leader, وخاتمهم, and the seal of them, the last of them, محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام, أخبر بأنه سبحانه هو العلي الأعلى. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentioned that He, Allah, is the most high. After He mentioned about the Mursaleen, the prophets, and the best of them, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, He mentioned that He is the most high, that He, Allah, is the most high. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the best of them. He himself said that, أنا سيد ولد آدم ولا فخر. I'm the best of the children of Adam without boasting. Shaykh Abdul Abbad said, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this because it was revelation. He didn't say it to boast. I am this and I am that. The Prophet was humble. But this was revelation that he was commanded to tell the people that I am the best of the children of Adam without boasting. And he, alayhi salatu salam, fulfilled that trust was upon him to give the message. And he, alayhi salatu salam, will be raised, the first to be raised from the grave. And he is the one that will intercede for the believers on the day of judgment. Then Allah mentioned about himself that he is al-Ali al-A'la. So we don't call upon the messenger. He's the best of the people. And some scholars say the best of creation, not just the best of the people. Why? Because they say that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned about the angels, or angel Jibreel, who was considered to be the best of the angels, he swore by four things. فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ الْجَوَارِ الْكُنَّسِ وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا عَسْ وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا تَنَفَّسِ. From his creation, about the receding stars, about the night, about the day as it breathes. Allah mentioned about the four things of his creation. And then he said, after that, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالْخُنَّسِ الْجَوَارِ الْكُنَّسِ وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا عَسْ وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا تَنَفَّسِ إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. Talking about Jibreel alayhi salam. But when he talked about the messenger of Allah alayhi salam, Surat Haqqah, he said, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَا تُبْصِرُونَ وَمَا لَا تُبْصِرُونَ إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. This was referring to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah said, look how here in this verse, Allah swore by everything. I swear that which you see and that which you don't see. He is the messenger, the blessed messenger, meaning Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that verse talks about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The other one talks about Jibreel alayhi salam, showing you that he's the best of creation. And then Allah talks about himself, that he is Al-Ali Al-A'la. So why should we call upon someone in the grave? When Allah is Al-Ali Al-A'la, and He calls you to call upon Him, but these crooks will go around telling the people to call upon them, making the people slaves to them, servitude to them. That is the reality. When you end up groveling to somebody, drinking from their wudu water, who was that? That was for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not for you, who came 1400 years later, drinking from their bath water. That's what the Sufis do. When they see the Sufi Shaykh is so pious, supposedly, and he's probably the biggest crook amongst them, they drink from his bath water. So Allah, they say this is blessing. And they do it. Or they take from his spit. He spits in their pot and they rub it all over their faces. Rather you than me. A'udhu billah. What is this? Lowering yourself to a man. Humble yourself to Allah. Huwa al-Aliyyul A'la. We say to all of these Sufi leaders, وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْأَعْلَى. It's Allah you should worship, Allah you should humble yourself to, Allah you should call upon, Allah you should rely upon, Allah is the one that we call to. Not this one who uses, as Shaykh Rabi' Hafidhullah said, what is it to be arrogant for? You use the toilet every day, don't you? Simple example. You use the bathroom, you want people to worship you. وَهُوَ مُسْتَوٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is مستوٍ على العرش, that he rose above the arsh. We don't ask how, we don't know. Allahu a'lam how, but we know that it is istiwa and it is known. So we don't know what, we don't know how, but we know that it's istiwa. Al istiwa'u ma'lum. As for those who say no, we don't even know the attribute of rising. No, we know it is an attribute of rising above. Who said it? The best of the people. The Salaf said it. Student of Abdullah ibn Abbas, what did he say? Mujahid, rahimahullah, who said, and he's from the student of Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, and Abu al-Aliya from the Tabi'een, both of them, they said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala istawa, irtafa'a wa ala, means he rose above. Beautiful explanation. And that is the explanation you find in Noble Quran of Dr. Muhsin Khan and Dr. Muhammad Taqiyuddin al-Hilali, rahimahumullah. The best translation of the Quran in terms of Aqeedah, you'll find beautiful pointers where the Aqeedah is affirmed. Correct Aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So may Allah have mercy on them. وَهُوَ الَّذِي يُعْطِي وَيَمْنَعُ. Allah is the one who gives and He withholds. We don't know how, but He gives and He withholds, but we don't know how. يُعْطِي. Maybe He gives a disbeliever. Don't be deceived and beguiled. Oh, why did He give them? No, maybe just He gave them, as Allah said, سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ. I will give them slowly, bleeding them, step by step, without them realizing. For our plan is mighty. سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ وَأُمْلِي لَهُمْ. Give them in full. إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ. Our plan is mighty. Because He takes their wealth while they are enjoying it. He takes them, their souls, while they're... That's the worst regret, isn't it? It's like you go so much, you don't want to lose it. That's why you find a lot of the rich people are probably the most miserly of people. Miserly of people go, so much, how are you going to spend that in your life? They said that this one, Amazon, how much? So many billions, like 50-something billion. Or how are you going to spend all that in your life? You know, so much greed. And even during the lockdown, he made more money. Many people went bust and he made more money. Because people was, but all this, there's no happiness that is going to be utmost happiness except with Islam. So you can have all the riches in the dunya, you can have all the glitter of this world, but if you don't have the deen of Islam, what do you have in reality? وَهُوَ الْقَادِرُ. And Allah is the all-able, عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْء, upon everything. وَهُوَ الْمُسْتَحِقُّ لِلْعِبَادَةِ. And He's the one deserving of worship. And worship is the worship of the tongue, worship of the hand, worship of the limbs, and worship of the heart. The three types of worship. فَجَاءَتِ السُّنَّةُ بِأَوْصَافِهِ. So the Sunnah explained His attributes, al-azima, His great attributes, subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَنَّهُ إِلَهُ الْحَقِّ. And that He is the deity that deserves to be worshipped in truth. Al-mustahiq. لأن يعبد كما دل عليه القرآن. That He is the one that should be worshipped as the Quran alluded to. والرسل. And the messengers عليهم الصلاة والسلام صادقون فيما أخبروا به عن الله. Truthful in that which they mentioned about Allah. musaddiqun, and they are entrusted. And here, Shaykh Ibn Baz rahimahullah, he said it means yajibu tasdiquhum. We must believe in them. All of the prophets that came. Ala kulli mukallafin, upon everyone that is responsible. وَهُمْ مَا جَاءَهُمْ مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الصِّدْقِ, and that which came to them from Allah is all truth. And Allah said that in the Quran. وَتَمَّتْ كَلِمَةُ رَبِّكَ صِدْقًا وَعَدْلًا. The words of your Lord have been completed with truth and justice. Imam Ibn Kathir rahimahullah said, صِدْقًا فِي الْأَخْبَارِ. All the news that came to us is sidq, is truthful. عَدْلًا فِي الْأَوَامِرِ وَالنَّوَاهِ, and justice in terms of commanding and forbidding. فَهُمْ صَادِقُونَ, they are the truthful ones. مُصَدَّقُونَ, entrusted ones. Musaddiqun, they themselves believed in that which was revealed to them, and they fulfilled it. فَالْوَاجِبُ عَلَى جَمِيعِ الْمُكَلِّفِينَ, so all those who are responsible, it's meaning they've reached the age of 15, of puberty, where they're now responsible to follow and obey that which they have come with, and to entrust them and to believe them. وَالْعَمَلْ بِمَا جَاءُوا بِهِ, and to fulfill those actions which they came with. فَكُلُّ أُمَّةٍ تَعْمَلُ فِي مَا جَاءَ بِهِ رَسُولُهَا. So every ummah, every nation follows or does actions that which their messengers call them to. And the messenger of this ummah is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's obligatory to follow him and that which he came with, and to comply to his legislation. As Allah said, وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ. Whatever the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, take it. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever he forbids you from, keep away from it. There's nothing like the sunnah. Sunnah gives you life. Whatever he came with, there's rahmah, there's mercy, and it's good for us. وَمَا أَتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ. Take it. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. Whatever he forbids you from, keep away from it. And many verses similar to that. أَطِيعُوا اللَّهُ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولُ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. Obey Allah and obey the messenger and those in authority over you. Obey Allah, أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول ولا تولوا عنه أنتم تسمعون. Obey Allah and obey the messenger. Do not turn away from him while you hear. More than 30 verses, all of them obey Allah and obey the messenger. Obey Allah and obey. In Surah An-Nur, قُلْ وَإِن تُطِيعُوهُ تَهْتَدُوا. And if you obey him, you will be guided. And Allah said, اتَّبِعُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. Follow him that you may gain mercy. اتَّبِعُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَهْتَدُونَ. Follow him that you may be given guidance. اتَّبِعُوهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. That you may be given piety. So gaining all of these blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is from following the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُمْ جَمِيعًا. O mankind, I'm a messenger to you all. It's like I was giving da'wah to this Christian. He's Asian, from India, Christian. I only noticed because he has a cross on his arm. So I gave him da'wah about Islam. He said, no, Islam is for the Arabs. I said, no. Islam is not for Arabs. If it's just for the Arabs, how come Muslims all over the world people all over the world becoming Muslim? In China, in America. Islam is not just for the Arabs. So I was just trying to give him da'wah. And mentioned to him about Islam is for all. Look, Malcolm X, he became Muslim, rahimahullah. Malik Shabazz, he became Muslim. He saw the many Muslims going for Hajj, different colors, different cultures, different languages. They all come wearing the same 2 pieces of cloth, white cloth, doing the Hajj, and all saying the same thing. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Here I am, O Allah, I'm at your service. Labbaik la sharika laka labbaik. Here I am, O Allah, who has no partners. None has the right to be worshipped but you. So saying the same, that is the unity. They call that, that is the real United Nations. That is, which will unite all the people. That is Tawheed and Sunnah. So I explained to him that. And I said to him, actually, you're from India. Usually in India, you're either a Sikh or a Hindu. It's very rare you get a Christian that's from India. So I said, it was probably because of colonization that you are Christian. So you should research, not just take what the people have told you to take. And how many people realized when they go to church and they see what is it that they want us to worship, or who is it they want us to worship? You see a white Jesus with a blonde hair, blue eyes, and you want us to worship. And you go to Africa, people started waking up. They start realizing that, is this what you want us to worship? Is it everywhere you go? And some churches started being clever. They put a Jesus with black, Jesus with, so trying to be different. But in reality, it wasn't about color. It was about the creed. It was about the creed, that we don't worship creation. We worship the Creator. And Islam, alhamdulillah, call us away from all of this racism that you'll find the people trying to subdue others with. So alhamdulillah. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُمْ جَمِيعًا. O mankind, I'm a messenger to all of you, all of mankind. فالواجب على جميع المكلفين اتباع هذا الرسول. So that is what is obligatory upon all those who are responsible. They reach the age of puberty, is to follow the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not allowed for a Jew or Christian who hears of me, the Prophet said, لا يسمع بي يهودي أو نصراني, and that they do not follow me. If they don't do that, then they reserve their seat in the hellfire, or they reserve their place in the hellfire. Whoever hears of me, whether be he Jew or Christian, and he doesn't follow me, man sami'a bi, whoever hears of me and he doesn't follow me, then let him take his place in the hellfire. So there isn't any other way that will be accepted. Inna ad-deena inda Allah al-Islam. That's the only way that's going to be accepted. And Allah said, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِي غَيْرَ إِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. Whoever chooses a way other than Islam as a religion, as a way of life, it will never be accepted from him. And he will be from the losers in the hereafter. So here Shaykh Ibn Baz rahimahullah is saying, that which came in the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the legislation, the ahkam, all of it came from Allah Azza wa Jal, and all of it clarified Allah's beautiful names and attributes. So we must affirm that and believe that and have faith in all that Allah mentioned about Himself and what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned about Allah, without likening Allah to creation. Bari'an min at-tamthil, he says, ma'a tanzih Allah, by exonerating Allah that He is perfect, without any deficiency, and without any mushabaha, likening, similarity of making Allah similar to His creation. Tanzihan, bari'an min at-ta'til, that without negating His names and attributes. So yes, we say Allah is not like His creation, but at the same time we don't negate the names and attributes. Then he mentioned, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's why he, rahimahullah, meaning Ibn Taymiyyah, said, بِخِلَافِ الَّذِينَ يَقُولُونَ عَلَيْهِ مَا لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, in opposition to what those who speak about Allah without knowledge. مِنَ الْكَفَرَ وَالْجَهَلَ, from the disbelievers and the ignorant ones. وَلِهَذَا سَبَّحَ نَفْسَهُ عَمَّا يَقُولُونَ. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exonerated Himself from what they say. He said, سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. So Allah praised Himself first, because He is the one who is complete in His essence and His names and His attributes. And then He said, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And thereafter He mentioned that the prophets and messengers, they are free from any blame from their opposers, from their enemies, those who killed the prophets and messengers from Bani Israel and other than them. And he says, Subhan Rabbika Rabbil Izzati Amma Yasifun, meaning from what they attribute Allah with, from deficiency, from partners. Because when I say Allah has a partner, it doesn't mean that it just has to be an idol, or a picture or an image. It could be that you set up a partner, an angel, could be a tree, could be a stone, could be a man whom you call upon for help and he's dead. And then these Sufis, they try to be clever, they say, no, but he's not dead. The shuhada are alive. They are alive in barzakh, but they're not alive in this world. Everyone dies in this world. Allah said, Kullu nafsin da'iqatul maut. Every soul will taste death. The Prophet ﷺ in his time, he said, everyone that's alive now, in 100 years of time, there will no one be alive. And the last Sahabi died. It was a prophecy. The last Sahabi died. Everyone that's alive now is going to be dead. With the exception to Isa alayhi salam, because Allah raised him up. But there are Sufis saying that Khidr is still alive. And he's roaming around. They say that he's around, he's alive. And there are those who say that yes, their Sufi saints are still alive. And they call upon them for help. They say that they come to their dreams and they want them, and they have connection with them. Like Tahir Qadri, he said, I have connection with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he came to me in my dream, and he said, and how he's saying this story, he said, I'm upset with, tell those people in Pakistan, I'm upset with them. Why? Because they didn't give him a plane ticket, meaning Tahir Qadri, they didn't give him a plane ticket to go to Medina and come back. MashaAllah, you want free ticket to go to Saudi Arabia? Huh? These are crooks. This is evil works. A dream, Prophet ﷺ came in your dream and told you you should go. You should tell the people that he's upset with them. Are the people that gullible? I need to believe this individual. Allah protect us. It was in Urdu, a brother translated it for me. Told me that this is what he's saying. And the people crying, oh, the Prophet ﷺ is upset with us. Quickly, let's get him a ticket. You see, you don't have to work. Even in Brexit, you don't need a job. Subhanallah, a'udhu billah from these crooks. May Allah protect us. Ya wallah. And by the way, he's apparently the advisor to the government, just as a side note. Huh? May Allah help us. Here, I mean, in England, he's one of the advisors. عما يصفه نعم, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect in His beautiful names and attributes. Then He said, perfect away from any partners that are associated with Him. فَكُلُّ هَذَا بَاطِلٍ then. All of that is negated and is futile to set up partners with Allah. Allah has not got any partner, not any, no begets any children. وَهُوَ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى الْفَرْدَ الصَّمَدْ. And Allah is the only one that deserves to be worshipped. The only one that deserves to be worshipped. Free from all that they associate upon Him. And those who claim falsely about the prophets, likewise, their claims are rejected. Like those who claim that Sulaiman ﷺ did magic. Allah freed Sulaiman ﷺ from any magic. It was the devils that did that. Sulaiman ﷺ did not disbelieve. It was the devils that disbelieved. Now, so they claimed, or they make claims about Sulaiman ﷺ, as the Jews did beforehand. And they make claims against Dawood ﷺ. Now, that he sent, it was in the Bible, that he's supposed to have sent, he liked this woman and he's supposed to have sent her husband to a war or to a battle, so he gets killed, so he marries the woman. A'udhu billah, you speak about Dawood ﷺ like that? So they would claim lots of things about the prophets. Now, they claimed about Musa ﷺ that he inflicted on many women, children to be killed. It's in the Bible, where large numbers of people he's supposed to have killed, Allah forbid. Now, Jazakallah khair. So here we have Allah exonerating himself and also the mentioning the prophets in high esteem and the messengers in high esteem. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَإِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ. Your deity that deserves worship is one deity. La ilaha illa huwa ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. None has the right to be worshipped but him, and he is ar-Rahman and he is ar-Rahim. Now, and Shaykh bin Baz rahimahullah as well mentioned about the prophets and messengers being free from what people lied about them. Rather, they are the best of the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. وهو سبحانه وتعالى قد جمع فيما وصف وسمى به نفسه بين النفي والإثبات. And likewise, in this verse as well, Allah mentioned affirmation and negation. Negated anything that resembles him and affirmed his perfection. This is the utmost perfection. ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. And the other verse, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Don't make with Allah partners whilst you know. And Allah said, هَلْ تَعْلَمُ لَهُ سَمِيًّا. Do you know any similitude unto him? And Allah said, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And there is no one comparable unto him. And the other verses that mention all of these affirmations and negations. And then Shaykh bin Baz rahimahullah mentions some attributes. So some names, sorry. So for example, Allah is Al Aziz, He is the Almighty. He's the most honorable. And He is Al Hakim, the most wise. And Al Ra'uf, the most kind. And Al Halim, the forbearing. Allahu Ahadun, Allah is one and unique. No one similar to Him. Allahu Samad, the one that everything is in need of His existence. And He is not in need of anyone's existence. Al-Ghafur, the one who is oft forgiving. Ar-Rahim, the one who delivers His mercy to those who are deserving. Al-Malik, He is the King. He is the Malik. And He is the Malik, the owner. Al-Quddusu, the source of peace. You want peace and security? It's with Allah. As-Salamu, the one who will give you security, no doubt, in your life. He will give you security. The Christians, and even in their Bible, it says, glad tidings to the peacemakers. Who's going around saying Salamu Alaikum to everyone, to the Muslims? It's the Muslims. Salamu Alaikum, may the peace be upon you. So if they were really to follow the prophets, or some of the statements are still true, but many have been tampered with in the Bible, but that which coincides with the Quran, that which coincides with the Sunnah, is accepted. And that which doesn't coincide with it is rejected. So Salamu Alaikum doesn't just mean peace, it means security. And other than that, from Allah's beautiful names, and there are many, 99 names that Allah has mentioned to us, or the Prophet has conveyed to us. And there are more than 99 that He hasn't told us about. So if we look at the Quran, we look at the Sunnah of the Messenger ﷺ, we see Allah mentioned, He affirmed perfection for Himself and negated all deficiency. He affirmed in detail and negated in general. Naam, laysa kamithlihi shay. This is negation, this is in general. But when He affirmed, وَهُوَ السَّمِيعٌ بَصِيرٌ, He affirmed in detail that He's the perfect hearing and the perfect seeing. And this is, you'll find it in the rest of the Quran. The affirmation of Allah's attributes and His names are in detail. So when Allah says, Ar-Rahman al-Arsh istawa, this is in detail. He's telling you and me that He rose above the Arsh. But the Sufi Ash'aris, they negate this. They say that if you say Allah is above the Arsh, you're putting Allah in a place. We say to them, you are the ones who invented the word place. It wasn't us. Ahl Sunnah al Jama'ah didn't say that. You invented the word makan. And you're using your aql I'm not doing what you're saying. I'm just doing what Allah told us in the Quran. Ar-Rahmanu al-Arsh istawa. Allah rose above the Arsh. Full stop. You want to add to it. Oh, but you, don't. There's no additions and no deletions. As Umar ibn Abdul Aziz rahimahullah said, قِفْ حَيْثُ وَقَفَ الْقَوْمِ فَإِنَّهُمْ عَنْ عِلْمٍ وَقَفُوا. Stop where the Sahaba stopped, for they stopped upon knowledge. So why should we go beyond what the Sahaba were upon? Stick to what they said. Then he said, so there's no way for Ahlul Sunnah that they go against the prophets and messengers. That is Sirat al-Mustaqim. That is the Tawheed of Allah that He established. So obedience to that which they call to is that which Ahlul Sunnah do in affirming His names and attributes. And there's no one similar to Him. Another doubt that they try to bring is that, oh, you are mushabbiha, you are anthropomorphists. See the big long word. Alhamdulillah, we also studied some words. Anthropomorphists. What they mean by that is they say you are mushabbih. You liken Allah to creation. We'll say stop the dazzling speech. Let's get to the reality. We just told you laysa kamithlihi shay. There is no one comparable unto Him. There is no one similar to Him. He's not similar to creation. But Allah affirmed for Himself, وَهُوَ السَّمِيعٌ بَصِيرٌ. He is the perfect hearing, the perfect seeing, which you don't do. How comes you affirm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala some of His names that are in line with your aql, but you don't affirm Allah's attributes? Like the Mu'tazila, they didn't affirm Allah's attributes. What is the problem that you affirm Allah's names? There is Ar-Rahman, He is Ar-Rahim. Why can't you also affirm that Allah rose above the Arsh? What is the problem? Because now you're using your aql. Shaykh Muhammad Amman al-Jami rahimahullah in his Aqeedah Al Wasitiyyah explanation, he said something beautiful. He said, these mu'attila, these mu'awwila who liken Allah to creation, the first thing they do is tashbih. They are the anthropomorphists because they did that. Then they have to negate it. Not only they are mushabbiha and the mu'attila because they have to negate it. And then they have to look for something else to replace it because it's called ta'wil. So they do 3 stages. Tashbih, ta'til, ta'wil. And then they say, no, what it means is Allah, not above the arsh. What it means is authority. And you see that in some translations of the Quran. His authority. Or what it means is His power. Tabarak alladhi biyadihi al-mulk. No. What it means is His hands is the power. The dominion is in His power, not His hands. So they negate Allah's attributes. Going from the beginning of the Quran to the end of the Quran. Ta'wil. Who did that? From Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Who did that from the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the Tabi'een? You go back to the past, you see the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they affirmed. Look at the statements of Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah to Shu'ayb ibn Harb. He advised him and he told him, and he affirmed the Aqeedah of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But we don't know how, you see. We don't know how these attributes are. But you're the one doing tashbih because we're not. We're not doing tashbih. You are doing tashbih. Ash'aris, Mu'tazila, all of them. They do tashbih. Then they do ta'til. That's why Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, see, we're not alone, we have ulama. We're not alone. We have ulama with us. Because we read their books. Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah said, al-mu'attila ya'buduna adaman, the mu'attila, they worship nothing. Because they're negators. Wal-mushabbiha ya'buduna sanaman, and the mushabbiha, those who liken Allah to creation, they worship idols. Why? Because they liken Allah to creation. But Ahlul Sunnah, no. Ahlul Sunnah affirm what Allah affirmed for Himself, and they put full stop. They don't say how, they don't liken Allah to creation. That's it. They don't go beyond what Allah said. They don't go beyond what the Messenger ﷺ said. This is Sirat al-Mustaqim. And this is what we ask for. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم, the path of those whom you have favored. This is their path in believing in Allah and His names and His attributes. The likes of Imam Malik, who said istiwa'u ma'lum. The likes of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, who said if anyone does not know Allah is above the arsh, then he has disbelieved. He made it a point of iman. The Prophet made it a point of iman. He said, free her as she is a believer when she pointed up, affirming Allah is above. اعتقها فإنها مؤمنة. So she said believer, the Prophet said believer, and you're saying disbeliever. So affirm that which the Sahaba affirmed. Affirm what the Prophet affirmed. One time it was raining, the Prophet took his hat off, or took that which was on his head off, and he rubbed his head and he said it came from above. From the one above. Who's the one above? It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even the disciples of Jesus, or those who were around Jesus at the time, alayhi salatu salam, Jesus the son of Mary, even the people around him, they said they wanted a sign. They wanted a sign. What was the sign? They said, أنزل علينا مائدة من السماء تكون لنا عيدا لأولنا وآخرنا وآية منك. Send from us, from your Lord that you call, that you said there's a Lord. Send from us down, means He's above. Send from us down a table spread that we may, yani from heaven, from your Lord, that we may eat from it, and it will be a sign for us and those to come. So they believe, they affirmed Allah is above. Fir'aun, Nimrod, all of them, they believed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above. Because even when he affirmed it for himself, he said, Ana rabbukumul a'la. He added the word a'la, because he wanted to be that Rabb who is above. But as he's drowning, he knows he's going to die. He says, Amantu bi Rabbi Musa wa Harun. But it's too late. It's too late. And who was it that said? Was it Nimrod who said, Ibni lana sarkhan la'alli attali'u ala Rabbi Musa. Make from me a tower that I may see the Lord of Musa, alayhi salatu salam. He wanted to see, he wanted to build a tower going up. So all of them, that wasn't an issue. So why is it an issue for you then? O Sufi, Ash'ari, O Mu'tazili. Why is it an issue for you to believe Allah is above the arsh? And some of them try and be smart. They say, yes, we believe Allah is above, but in terms of His status, not in terms of His essence. But we say to them, go back to the books of the Salaf, and you'll see the likes of Imam Malik rahimahullah's, the great student Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qirawani, who died 384 Hijriya, he said, and he was called Imam Malik al-Saghir, the small Malik, from Qirawan, which is now in Tunis. And that's why he's got the Aqeedah Al Qirawaniyyah, Muqaddimat Al Qirawaniyyah. He said, وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ فَوْقَ الْعَرْشِ بِذَاتِهِ. He's above the arsh by His essence. So you're just saying, oh, by His status. He said, بِذَاتِهِ. What's wrong with you? Say بِذَاتِهِ. Don't run away from it. وَهُوَ فَوْقَ الْعَرْشِ بِذَاتِهِ وَهُوَ فِي كُلِّ مَكَانٍ بِعِلْمِهِ. And He's everywhere in terms of His knowledge, not He Himself is everywhere. Allah is above the arsh by His essence, is above. We don't know how. And He descends in the last third part of the night. We don't know how, but we believe in it. And we affirm it. And it increases us in iman, increases us in belief. And another doubt that they try to bring, that is refuted by Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah. Well, he mentioned, they came to him and they discussed with him. In fact, they want to discuss the hadith in Sahih Muslim of the servant girl. They said, no, we don't want to discuss that one. He said, no, you came to me, so I'll put the conditions down that we want to discuss that hadith. So either that or you discuss kalam. Let's discuss the hadith. Why can't you just say what the servant girl said? That Allah is above. You have a problem with saying that? No. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has beautiful names and attributes. And this, wallahi, only increases us in iman and affirmation of the truth. And a blessing it is to follow the prophets that came before. Now, then Shaykh bin Baz rahimullah, he said likewise Ayat al-Kursi, which mentions Allah's beautiful names. In it, Allah negated any slumber, any sleep. And slumber is that which is the light sleep. And sleep is that which is heavier. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is perfect in His living. So no slumber seizes Him, nor any sleep. And to Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and the earth. Meaning that He is the owner of everything, He says. And no one can intercede with Him except by His permission. So no one is able to intercede. This is a refutation on the Sufis again, who claim that they're dead peers, saints, that they can intercede for them. Or that Rasulullah ﷺ can intercede for you. Rasulullah ﷺ's intercession is Yawm al-Qiyamah, not now. Yeah. Or they claim that these so-called righteous. And there's so many stories about that. Like some people were going on a path and then they see a man standing at a grave. And he was calling upon this grave. And because on the path, on the road, they thought he was a righteous man. And the others, they knew the place, they knew the area. They said, no, this is a donkey that died. It's a donkey that died that you're... So you're calling upon a donkey. What are you calling upon a donkey for? Donkey, it's a dead donkey. Sallallahu Alaihi So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded the people to call upon Him alone, not to call upon anyone else besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us in the adhkar and the ad'iyah to call upon Allah. We don't find any of the Sahaba calling upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rather, they find them all calling upon Allah. We don't find someone going to the grave of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and say, Ya Rasulullah, help us. Like these Sufis are doing, or these Brelvis are doing. Nah. Because Sufis are so many tariqas, so many claimants. كل يدعي وصلا بليلى وليلى لا تقرهم بذلك. As the Arabs say, everyone claims Layla is theirs, but Layla says, I ain't belong to any one of you. So all of them claim to have the truth, but the truth is saying to them, it's as if the truth is saying to them, I'm not, none of you I actually ascribe to it. Rather, the truth is far away from what you guys are upon, what you people are upon. The truth is in Tawheed and Sunnah, not in Shirk and Bid'ah. وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Inshallah, we'll continue on Wednesday. Allah yabarak fikum. We have 3 weeks, inshallah. Hopefully, we'll finish the Aqeedah Al Wasitiyyah. It's a beautiful Aqeedah. Now, of Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. It's not just Aqeedah, but though there's methodology in there, there's manhaj in there. As we saw in the beginning of the book, about the Firqatul Najiyah, the saved sect that is mentioned. And at the end of the book as well, you find it in there as well, methodology. Then you have these individuals who come later, they say, oh, why are you wasting your time speaking about this? This is not a waste of time. Rather, this is what will increase your iman and my iman. If you know Allah's beautiful names, and you know His attributes, and you know whom you are worshipping, and that no one deserves that worship, this only increases your iman because it makes you more focused and also gets you closer to your Lord. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Those who fear Allah the most, they're the scholars. Meaning the scholars, those who know Allah, they fear Him the most. So if you don't know Allah, how are you going to fear Him? حياكم الله والله أعلم. حياك الله. عبد الله خير.